Probably the oldest issue analysis technique is 5 whys. And it borrows from the wisdom of your first or second grader who's never satisfied with your first answer to why. Why is the grass green? Why does the sun rise in the east and not the west? This inquisitive mindset is exactly what you're trying to encourage your coalition or community group to have. 5 whys are simply sequenced the same question 5 times. You ask why the first time, chart the answers, and for each answer you dig further by asking why until you've arrived at least 5, or if you've reached an end, as many as possible. The purpose is to get the group to dig deep, go past its initial assumptions, understand underlying causes, and see associations across causes they may not have otherwise seen. This generates a lot of ideas, and so it's very important as a facilitator to plan in advance for how you'll manage the volume and visualize that volume of ideas, usually on an idea wall or a large number of pieces of chart paper. Let's listen in as this group uses the 5 whys technique to explore their issue. We're going to do our last technique. It's also one you may be familiar with. This one is called the 5 whys technique. Have any of you facilitated the 5 whys technique before? Yes? You're familiar? All right. If you thought why here drove you crazy, wait until you do the 5 whys. 5 whys technique. Basically, there's only one question. Like a second grader. Why? Why is the grass green? Why does the sun shine? Why? Yes. And we just ask that question 5 times. The point is to continue to dig down past the immediate answers and assumptions and force people to think even more thoroughly about a given issue, right? Although that can be at times feel arduous and off-putting to folks to keep pressing them in that way, but that's the point of the tool. And if they understand the technique and its purpose, they'll have more patience for answering why 5 times. The results are captured in a circle diagram. Usually it looks a little bit like a target, all right? And so when you're doing this, you will place the issue at the center in the same ways we did root cause. And before we did nutrition, so I'm going to stick to that in our brainstorm example here as a whole group. And we simply ask why, and we chart the answers in the first circle, right? So let's go back to our nutrition example. Why are young people, and this gives you an easy answer because you had some from this morning, right? So what are some reasons why young people are not eating nutritious meals? Help me out. McDonald's. We've got fast food McDonald's. What else? Mm-hmm. What else?
Knowledge.
Pardon?
Knowledge.
College?
Knowledge.
Oh, knowledge. Thank you. Yes, I'll take knowledge. I was a little suspicious of college, but knowledge I'll take. Was it good? Maybe you're ahead of me. One more. Why else are young people maybe not eating a nutrition meal? Marketing. Great. Okay. Then what you do is, this is going to be a shocker, you ask why again, right? So we typically draw spokes to help separate the ideas, right? So for example, when we said knowledge, why do young people not have knowledge about nutrition? Why? We may not have no health class. Yep, no health class in school.
Parents have more information.
Parents don't have information. Any other reasons why? They might be getting mixed messages, right? I mean, if you listen to many media sources, every day is a different, wine's good for you, wine's bad for you. Things that are green are good for you. Things that are, it's just this kind of nonsense. Okay, so you see how we just went another layer, and then we go again. And I extend my spokes. This allows me to see that these ideas are all related to our original one of knowledge, right? And we generated 3 reasons why. So why do we not have health classes in school? Oh, hey, we got a lot of good ideas. Let's go one at a time. Yes, over here. What?
Funding.
Funding. May not have the dollars. Why else?
Time.
Time. There are so many competing opportunities in terms of how we need to spend that classroom time that health class just had to go. Why else?
No curriculum.
No curriculum. Right. Good. Okay. So then we go again. We extend out. We're continuing down. At the moment, we're explaining why aren't there health classes and why don't we have curriculum?
That's not mandatory.
Not mandatory. Why else why we not have curriculum?
No dollars.
No dollars. And maybe, again, not an issue up here, maybe an issue down here of just not having the dollars for that. We may have time in the day. We'll find out. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. Why don't we have dollars in schools for curriculum?
They want to raise taxes.
Right. So we may have that. We may have no legislation. See where we're going? All right. Now, you need to take it out 5 is the general rule, but sometimes you'll get to the end of something and there just isn't another y. We've kind of gotten to the bottom of it. So you may not always go 5, right? And you chart them generally by keeping the spokes so that you can see the groups of ideas. Or if you're really a speedy recorder, color. Do everything here in blue and everything here in green, just so people can see the ideas unfold, right? Into a target or circle diagram. And we simply repeat that process until we've gotten to 5 Ys. Strengths and weaknesses, we are on the 5 Ys. I'll put them on the slide here. The main purpose here is to discover relationships and interrelationships at a foundational or root level, right? Get to the bottom of it all. Don't just stop at the Y here, get to the right challenge. Here's what it's good at. It's good for new or unstudied problems. When there's a lot known, this can force people to jump through a lot of unnecessary hoops, right? In substance abuse, we know a lot of the causes, right? It's also good with co-occurring problems, behavior clusters, or the term syndemic. Syndemic is an epidemic that is occurring in tandem with another, and they can't be understood alone. You cannot understand, for example, teen pregnancy without also understanding underage drinking, right? These two interact. To model them and understand them independently is to pretend like young people don't lead their whole life, right? It's integrated. And so this is a little more integrative and larger in its view, and it does well with that kind of idea. And in fact, often it'll help you point out those connections. Things that it's bad at, tons. You generate tons of ideas. People get overwhelmed. If you thought the why here generated a lot, and that could create this sort of sense, try doing 5 Ys and do it for all the initial brainstorm things, right? I love this technique, but there are times when I get 15 original Ys, I'm like, oh boy, here we go, right? And so it's going to take more time, it's going to take a lot of space, and you can generate just a ton of ideas. You can also get to what feel like immovable causes. Poverty feels like something we can't do something about, or is not maybe our mission as a coalition, but we know it's relevant to our understanding of family stress, right? And that can feel like something we don't know what to do about, right? And so it can move if you take the 5 Ys to their extreme, you very often end up at these kinds of broad determinants of health. A helpful thing to understand, but can be overwhelming for a group.